Hello and welcome to an action-packed episode of the Weighing Room podcast, where today the three of us are back to go through 10 live races on ITV Racing on Saturday, with racing from Leopardstown, Haydock, Ascot and Kempton, with three lots of Group 1 action to go through. Frankie, sees you're abroad again. Nice bit of a tan on you. What a weekend of action we have in store.
Yeah, it's fantastic, isn't it? My mind is usually on the Irish racing this weekend, and as you mentioned, I'm overseas. I am quite gutted to be missing Leopardstown on Saturday because it's one I did last year and really enjoyed. So for the last year or so, I've certainly kind of always focused on the racing in Ireland, but now we're looking at the cards this weekend. There's great racing from up and down the UK. It's brilliant. So a big weekend and some popular names to look forward to as well. And I'm sure we'll talk about Bay Bridge in a second. But horses like that get people talking and race at the top level that we want to see race well are in the mix of this weekend. So yeah, it's a top weekend.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely superb racing everywhere. Paul, for an Irishman, this has got to be one of the biggest weekends of flat racing throughout the season, hasn't it?
Absolutely, James. Like we spoke about it off air. Something similar, not that dissimilar to the Dublin Racing Festival. Like, this is huge, and the Curragh and Leopardstown have come together. HRI, they pump so much in to Irish Champions Festival, and like it's just huge. I know there's a thing for guests on Sunday morning where they get to meet See the Stars and have a chat with John Ox and Mick Kinane. There's just something for everyone. Like, we got top quality racing on Saturday, top quality racing. We got a rematch, of course, on Sunday with the juveniles going head to head. Just something for everyone this weekend here, and hopefully the weather holds out. We've had a glorious week, and Wednesday was like 23, 24 degrees. Thursday was 26, 27 degrees. We're recording on Friday morning. It's given 26, 27 degrees here. It looks like Frankie's camped outside Leopardstown for the weekend. So hopefully this holds up. It is given to break. I think we're getting 20, 21 maybe on Saturday, and it might break on Sunday, but hopefully we'll get lucky.
Yeah, absolutely top weekend of action in Ireland and the UK. We are going to kick off this podcast. We've got 10 live races to go through.
Sorry, James, I'm just going to have to mention as well, of course, not forgetting, we'll talk about Irish racing. We got Leighton action on the beach to look forward to on Tuesday, and that's always the history there. That's where I would have spent a lot, even though it's only like 40 minutes or so away. I would have spent a lot of my summer holidays there. So the car will be hanging into Leighton on the way home from work on Tuesday evening.
Yeah, lovely stuff. You sent some pictures into the group chat, didn't you? Of what it looked like now and what it'll look like next week. But yeah, that is something to look forward to as well. But like I mentioned, 10 big races to go through. Plenty of value on offer. Let's try and kickstart this week's pod with a winner then. And we're going to go through the 135 Group 3 at Kempton. It's the Unibet September Stakes over 1 mile, 4 furlongs. We have, like Frankie mentioned, Bay Bridge could have gone to the Irish Champion Stakes. Instead, drops back into a Group 3 here at 5 to 4. Isra has got to give him £5 at 11 to 4. Candleford 5 to 1 for William Haggis. Fortino, really interesting customer, new recruit for Jonathan Thady Gosden at 12s, and 14 to 1 bigger the rest. Frankie, we'll start with you here. Is it, you know what, Bay Bridge has been a horse really close to my heart. I've absolutely loved him, but he's let me down a few times this season, and I've been trying to get him beat in this race, but I think you've just got to keep it straightforward, haven't you?
Agree. What you said straight away, could have gone to the Irish champion and racing these big races and comes back into a Group 3. You look at his last couple of races, they've all been in a Group 1. He was third in the Group 1 over in France. He was second in the Group 1 in Ireland. He was fifth in the Prince of Wales Stake that Mostadaf won. Mostadaf's gone on to beat Paddington, the only horse to stop Paddington this season. Bay Bridge is really, in my opinion, above this level and should be winning in a race like this.
Yeah, Bay Bridge 5 to 4, top of the market. Israel 11 to 4, and Candleford's in there at 5 to 1. Paul, I know a horse you've mentioned a few times on the pod. Is that horse good enough to compete with the top two in the market?
I'm going to take a chance with him. I'm going to take a chance with him because I'm not convinced he gets a true stiff mile and a half. I think if he's going to get it, he'll get it here. He was a good winner over the extended mile and 3 at Windsor last time out. He's a course and distance winner. That course and distance win came back in 2021 when he Coltrane well held behind in second. He probably hasn't kicked on from that victory. And like I said, I'm not convinced he gets the true mile and a half. He looked as if he didn't stay when he was third of 7 behind Hamish at Goodwood 2 starts ago at the beginning of August. I think the mile and a half here at Kempton will suit. He comes here in good form despite not winning. Or he won last time out, but a good third the time before that. I think he's worth around about 11 to 2. I think he's worth taking a chance here, Candleford.
Yeah, if Candleford can back up that run last time out, he's sure to be in the mix off the same weight as Baybridge. I'm with Frankie here. I did try and get Baybridge beat, but he is a horse that I absolutely love. I've put him up time and time again. He has let me down a little bit this season, but being dropped into this Group 3 gives him such a big opportunity to get back to winning ways. Like I mentioned, he could have gone to the Irish Champion Stakes, an absolutely superb Group 1, probably the best race of the week. And that's the type of company he's been keeping all season. Whereas coming back to here with, I think maybe Israel's obviously got to be the big danger. Israel has got to give him £5 and he's £6 inferior in the ratings as well. So having now had a break of 80 days since that run at Royal Ascot, where he was below par in the Prince of Wales Stakes, if he gets back to the form that we saw at the Curragh in the Group 1 Tattersalls Gold Cup, when just behind Luxembourg, he should go and win this race. I think it's quite straightforward how they're going to ride him. Just bump him out. Maybe have one just inside him and say, go and win. Because I just can't see Israel giving that weight to the horse. So Baybridge, hopefully to kickstart the card at Kempton for favourite backers. And this is his last chance with me, Baybridge. This is his last chance. I love him, but he's got to start winning soon. Haydock's first event of the afternoon on ITV sees the 150 Group 3 best odds on the Betfair Exchange Superior Mile Stakes over a mile. Paul, we'll start with you here. Light Infantry's at the top of the market at 15 to 8, having been running in better company all season and definitely knocking on the door. We've got Shindit at 4 to 1. Zoology's interested at 9 to 2, who's coming into a Group 3, and Regal Reality, who's a bit of the old boy at 13 to 2. So Buska's back as well, a 7-year-old. It's a race full of familiar names, but who are you going for?
All over Light Infantry here, James. I thought like you said, he's been contesting hotter contests than this. He's 2 victories from 11 starts. Rarely runs a bad race, despite competing at the top table. Ran a cracker to finish 3rd behind Inspiral in a Group 1 at Deauville when last seen. That was after a short break, and had Honesto, who runs the Irish Champion Stakes, behind in 4th. I think he's been found a good opportunity here. Was round about the 5 to 2 mark earlier on in the week. Now top price 15 to 8, and is one of the few in the field that was already jocked up when the end, well before declaration times. Jamie Spencer was one of the few that had a jockey beside him. So all over Light Infantry here, James.
Yeah, you can definitely see the case as well. Light Infantry 15 to 8, top of the market. Frankie, are you the same opinion, or are you looking to take on the favourite here?
No, I agree. And similar to Baybridge, really, but a slight step down. Light Infantry has been racing in the best company. Chindit's obviously in there, and they do have some intertwining form. Chindit has finished in front of Light Infantry before, but the 2 bits of form that stand out to me are Light Infantry's been 2.5 lengths off Inspiral twice, both when she's been, pretty much up to her best, and she is a proper Group 1 horse. So I think if repeating that form, and the likes of Inspiral aren't in here, I really don't think the rest of the field is quite at that level. So it's 2 favourites to get us going, but I think they're both priced pretty fairly, and they've both got the form to stack it, to back it up. So yeah, I'm in the same camp as Paul. I don't think anything should challenge Light Infantry if producing that form behind Inspiral.
Yeah, I'm with you, gents. And I know it's 2 favourites to kick off the card, but I think both of them go and win. And I think you could even double them up. Light Infantry, for all the reasons mentioned by both of you, he's dropping into a Group 3 here, going against horses that just aren't as good as the horses he's running in behind. Like you mentioned, when he was a head second to Anmark, he's a better horse than all these. These runs behind Inspiral and Triple Time. I think Triple Time won this race last year. Inspiral's obviously ran well at Royal Ascot and last time in the Prix Jacques Le Marois, where she's won that for a second time. Those are both solid runs, and dropping back into a Group 3. I just think if this horse was trained by one of the bigger names, and no disrespect to David Simcock, but I think this horse would be even shorter price than 15-8, because he's been knocking on the door in such good company. And these horses, yeah, they're good horses, but they're listed Group 3 and maybe at a push sometimes a Group 2. I think Light Infantry is a Group 1 horse, just been running against better Group 1 horses. And now dropping down to this, has been given a perfect opportunity to get back to winning ways. So, yeah, I'm with you both here. Light Infantry, I think he's solid to kick off the card at Haydock. We're going to go back over to Kempton then for their final event on ITV on Saturday, and this is the 2:10. It's the Unibet London Mile Series final handicap over a mile. We have Cathab at the top of the market, 100-30 for William Haggis. First View at 4-1 for Saibin Saror. Baltimore Boy, winner last time out, 13-2. Helm Rock 8 and 10-1 bigger the rest. Frankie, we'll start with you here. Bit of a lesser race and probably the 10 we're going to cover. Who do you like?
I really like First View in this for Saibin Saror, who won the race last year. Comes here off a mark of 88. Won this last year off of 90. Christian Howard takes off 5. He did ride last time out, and the horse has been put up £1 for coming second, but it was such a bizarre race. I can't really work out whether the horse was shuffled back or Christian just didn't get going quick enough, because the horse looked as if it was about to stop after being, I think, one off the lead maybe, and got shuffled maybe 5 or 6 places back before then picking up and really would have won the race, bar, I can't remember who won the race, but one came right over the top and just pipped him on the line. But bar that, would have won the race after a strange little kind of shuffling back in the important stages of the race. And I think has to still have a bit in hand, having only been raised £1 for that second and still being £2 lower than when winning this last year. So I'm sure Christian will probably ride a little bit handier and won't make the same mistake in this race. And I think if, he's in a good position and really just tries to kick and go and win the race, then hopefully he can.
Yeah, it was a muddling race, that race. And it was Baltimore Boys actually third in the betting, who just came over the top. But you're absolutely bang on with how that horse was ridden, because it looked like it was going to go out the back of the TV, didn't it? And then it stayed on and just nearly got back up. So only up £1, course and distance, yeah. Definitely got a big chance. Paul, who did you land on in this one?
Well, I've had a similar preparation going into this than I had in the opener at Sandown last week, in that when I opened that race up first, I went with Maywake and then convinced myself, well, Maywake struggled at this level before, he's going to struggle again. That obviously didn't happen. And I tried to make a case for Helm Rock here. But Helm Rock has struggled off 93, I think it was, before, and has struggled in Class 2 company before. So I've gone elsewhere. I am with Cathab, the favourite. Best price 4-1. One of the few as well that was jocked up in the early stages is Cathab, who won his maiden at Rippenbach in July, which was his 4th start. It needed a couple of attempts to get his head in front. Then ran out a good winner in a qualifier for this final at Haydock back on August the 12th. Had Helm Rock comfortably held back in 7th. And there's that form that kind of swung it from me here. I can't see how Helm Rock can reverse that form. Was slightly disappointed at Ripon when a beaten favourite, finished 3rd. That was last time out, but I still think he's going to take the beating here. So there hasn't been much support from him. Was best price 92 earlier on in the week. Now best price 4-1. Cathab gets the tentative nod.
Yeah, I found this one of the trickiest races of the day, just because there isn't too much to go on, to be honest. And I think you are guessing. Well, I'm guessing that Cathab is still better than his mark of 91. I understand Frankie's opinion on First View, and obviously Baltimore Boy ties into that form line. But I just thought the rest of them weren't that good coming into a Class 2 race, when only probably showing it in Class 4s and Class 3s, where I think Cathab can be better than this marker 91. If you look how he started his career, they obviously always thought he would be a good horse. Was in the Wood Ditton, finished 2nd to Passenger, who was obviously fancied for the Derby. And he was a big eye catcher that day with a penny dropping late, going on the outside and flying home. Bumped into Mustabshir at York, who had everything going for him that day, and even though he was under a penalty. He's then gone into another maiden. He only beat 2 home, but back in 2nd that day was Middle Earth, and obviously We know how good Middle Earth is from winning the Melrose Handicap at York. Dropped back to a mile at Ripon. He got off the mile in good style. And then he made it 2 out of 2 at Haydock off a mark of 85. Last seen at Ripon off the same mark here. He grabbed third late on, but he started to hung slightly right, and I just don't think it was a perfect race to him. I think this will be a lot easier because, like I mentioned, a lot of these horses in here haven't really done it at this level, whereas Kathab shows he already has. And I think at a mark of 91, he's probably the bet here. So Kathab to make it 3 wins in 4 for William Haggas. Back over to Haydock then for their second event of the afternoon. Plenty of familiar names going to post over 1 mile 6 here in the daily rewards with Betfair handicap. Denmark is now the joint favourite with Nakib at 5 to 2, having been a bit bigger yesterday evening. Lordship in here at 5 to 1 for Haggas, who could have a big day. Blinded by the Lights for Sir Mark Prescott 15 to 2. Davideo 17 to 2. The Goat 11 to 1 and 14 to 1 bigger the rest. Paul, there seems to be a likely pace angle here with the 2 outsiders that if they go hard up front, you could see something off the pace come and pick it up on that long straight at Haydock. But for me, it looks an absolutely cracking race between the top 2 in the market because they're very hard to split.
They are, and I went with Denmark last time out. You finished it a good second, I think, at the first time blinkers on. This week we're going up and trip. We're going to Sir Mark Prescott. Sir Mark we trust. Blinded by the Lights. Luke Morris. Not sure what Luke's minimum weight, but I'd imagine 8 stone 2. I know we're at a busy time this season, but 8 stone 2 would be light enough. He's a tall enough lad, so he is. So it's light enough to be getting down to 8 stone 2. Rated 81. Blinded by the Lights has had 3 runs in 2022, 2 of which were over 7 furlongs. Then got up to 1 start over a mile, which back then was incredibly. The start over the 8 furlongs was his worst run out of the 3. Then on to 2023, got up to a mile, the extended mile and 3, and was a good winner at Yarmouth. Then a beaten odds on favourite at Lingfield, finished 2nd of 8, and then was a good winner at Newbury before finishing 2nd at Foss last. I think Haydock here will suit Blinded by the Lights. He's going to have to improve. He has only competed in class 5 and 6 events, and the horse that beat him last time out is rated 80. I've got horses in here rated 95, 99, 100, so he is going to have to step up, but there is little miles on the clock. He's trained by a master over a mile and 6, was best price 9 to 1, now top price 15 to 2. I'm with Blinded by the Lights.
Yeah, there's always a method to his madness in there, Sir Mark Prescott. So if he's chucking this horse off a mark of 81 into this race, where he could probably go and win a few more races and not absolutely ruin his mark, there's got to be something behind that, and has been backed at 15 to 2. So yeah, and like you mentioned, Luke Morris, that's got to be one of the lowest weights he can do.
Just light enough, yeah, it is light enough now.
Yeah, very interesting runner. Any race, any handicap with Sir Mark Prescott having a runner over 1 mile 6 is interesting. So yeah, can see the case there. Frankie, who did you land on?
I'm going to take a chance, and it is a chance because Davideo's finished first, last. So he gets it very right or very wrong. I'm hoping he gets it right. And those last places have came in big field races at big meetings, and whether that has something to play with it, I'm not saying that this meeting at Haydock is going to be a small one by any means, but it is a field of 8, and it is a lesser crowd than both York and Ascot. I'm pretty sure it was that Davideo fluffed his races in. And if you go back to the last time we did win at Newmarket, it wasn't the best race in the world. It was a class 3 handicap, but as you mentioned, the long straight at Haydock, you want horses potentially that do take a bit of time to wind up, and just the way that he won and the fact that he's only had 6 career starts, I feel like there has to still be plenty of improvement in him. He looked as if he was almost still around a bit, and you know, by the fact that he's come last at 2 big fields as well, he's probably showing a bit of inexperience, and I'm hoping that he is learning still. There is still improvement to come. He is in better company, and he's off a higher mark in the handicap, but I have to think there's improvement there, and I'm an optimist, so I'm hoping it carries on actually, and he'll go first, last, and now back to first.
Yeah, that's the thing with Davideo. I am a fan of the horse as well. You just don't know what Davideo will turn up. But going off his runs this season, it's got to be a winning one. So 17-2, lovely price to see how he gets on. I found these very, very tricky because I couldn't decide on Nakeeb and Denmark. I honestly could. I could change my decision every 10 minutes here. But because Denmark was a bigger price yesterday, he's the one I've gone with in the end, even though he's joined in the market now. But yeah, Denmark just gets the nod ahead from Nakeeb, who I do think is a very, very good horse. But I liked Denmark when he was a 2-year-old, when he won his maiden over a mile at Naas in August by 3 lengths. And then he went to Longchamp on Art Weekend in the Harris de Bucatot Criterium Arcana and was just done by a head. But it was a really good performance, and he left a lot going into his 3-year-old campaign. He came back this season, the Ballysack Stakes over 1 mile 2. Didn't run any race. Not sure what happened, but he was put away for a long time then. Back at the end of August at York's Ebor meeting, where we saw him finish second to Middle Earth by just under 2 lengths, with a really good second in that Melrose handicap. I think he just gets the nod because there's a similar form line with Nakeeb that just tips the scales in his favour. He was giving £4 to Middle Earth last time out, only going down by just under 2 lengths. Nakeeb was beaten by a nose off level weights in a novice stakes. So if you essentially put £1 to a length, this is what it's come to try and work out between these two. But I find it really hard to split them. But I know Denmark's £5 higher here, but he's likely to improve like any Aidan O'Brien horse, especially having that first try at the distance. He's unexposed. Yes, Nakeeb could definitely improve for going up and trip as well, and absolutely bolted up last time, but I don't think it was against much opposition. Nakeeb's obviously interesting because Full was a half brother to Baid and Hookham, so he should get the trip. Lordship's a £7 better off with Denmark now, having run into 4th behind him in the Melrose. It's a fascinating race. I found it really, really hard to unravel. So it's not one I'd be having a good bet on, but I think Denmark just gets the tentative nod for the reasons I've explained. Ascot's first event of the afternoon on ITV is the 2:35 Bet365 handicap over 7 furlongs. We have QUINAULT back looking to try and get back to winning ways, having landed 6 on the trot. He's at 13-2. Hickory joins him as joint favourite at 13-2. I think it's got a big chance for Safi Osborne. Spangled Matt 15-2. Sar of Orion 17-2. Havana Blue 9s, and bigger the rest. Frankie, we'll let you kick off this one. Who have you landed on?
I really wanted to go with Ropey Guest, but his Ascot form is terrible, to say the least. I think that the horse, well, obviously winning at York, and I know he's a 40-1 winner there, but when you flick back through some of his form, it actually doesn't seem that surprising in hindsight. I mean, it would be easy if we always knew that. But his Ascot form just puts me off. There are some stinkers at Ascot compared to elsewhere. I think I'm going to have to stay with the favourite. QUINAULT's been so consistent in so many decent handicaps, and that's kind of what swayed me. It's not like this has been a horse. Well, of course, it's been well campaigned, and you know they've picked the right races and won nicely, and so on, and rose through the ranks. But I wouldn't say it's a horse that has dodged good handicaps. It's a horse that's been put into plenty of really competitive handicaps, and the horse has just kept rising to it. And for me, lots of those races that QUINAULT's gone and won, even the last race when he was finally beaten and came 3rd, carrying 9 stone 13, I just think it's a better caliber race. There's a couple in here that have raced in good races. Hickory obviously was good second at Ascot. That was a very good race, but it's patches of form, whereas QUINAULT has raced against lots of good handicaps over and over again, hasn't minded a rise in the weights each time, took it in his stride, and although he was beat finally last time, he was still 3rd in a very valuable handicap. So I think that they probably played it smart and found a nice race for him, hopefully to get back to winning ways.
I think you're absolutely bang on, Frankie. I couldn't have put it better myself, because I'm with QUINAULT as well, just ahead of Hickory, because I think Hickory could be really well handicapped off a mark of 89. Maybe having some of the joint best form, because that half a length run behind Baradar last time out at Ascot over 7 furlongs was very, very good run. But at the same time, yes, he's put up 2 seconds his last 3 runs, but apart from that, he hasn't really threatened. So, whereas QUINAULT, I think getting a £5 claimer back on board, having a rider that hasn't ridden before in the Shergar Cup last time out was probably the difference. No disrespect to Luke Morris, but this seems like a horse that you need to know how to ride him. He's essentially off a marker 92, isn't he now, when he was running off a marker 97 last time. I think that's going to be a massive difference. All the runs he's put him in really good handicap company. Like the one where we saw him just beat Millstream. Millstream's come out and won a listed race and a Group 3 honours in France, and runs in the Group 1 Sprint Cup at Haydock. So that shows some seriously good form as well. Yes, he goes up to 7. He has won at 7. But he probably is better at 6, and we know he's a stiff 7 here, so he might just have to be held on to slightly. But hopefully Luke Catton can do that. But I think QUINAULT, like you say, Stuart Williams has put him back into a race here where he can resume winning ways. And at 13-2, I think you're actually getting quite an high price to find out if he still is as good as his runs this season off the mark he's at. He's wearing the hood, he's wearing the tongue strap. We know what he's like. But he's a very consistent horse that I think will go very close. Paul, 2 votes for QUINAULT. Are you making it 3?
Yeah, we'll make it a full house. I think he covered all the points well there. I think he's a horse that definitely needs to know, and he has his quirks. He can race a little bit keen. Luke Catton's already won 3 on him. He's had 5 goals on him. He's won 3. He's all his wins, bar the win at Brighton, they've all come over 6. But on his pedigree, he nearly should be capable of getting a mile and 2. But his style of racing, he can race a little bit keen. He has the hood on, so we'll see. You know, all his 5 of the 6 wins have come over 6 furlongs. But I think if he settles, I think he should get to 7 here. I think he's a horse like we said, that the jockey that needs knowing. Luke Catton gets on with him well. Can be even tricky leaving the stalls, but I think if he behaves himself, I think Connections have found a good opportunity here. Full house for QUINAULT.
We're moving on to the first Group 1 event of the afternoon, where we are covering on this week's podcast. And it's the first day of Irish Champions Weekend at Leopardstown. It sees the 245 Coolmore America Justified Matron Stakes for fillies and mares. What a contest we have on offer here. TAHIYRA's back, having had a 78-day break since Royal Ascot at even money. Homeless Songs, who's a Group 1 winner in her own right at 13-2. Just Beautiful, very impressive last time out at 10s. Meditate, we know all about at 10s. Jumbly, 22s. Prosperous Voice, 25s, and 33-1. Bigger the rest. Paul, talk us through your pick here. This looks a cracker, doesn't it?
Absolute belter, James. Look, not original. I think TAHIYRA is the one that they'll all have to beat. Price reflects that. She's top price even money, and it's 8-1 bar those. She had a monstrous performance last season at the Curragh. Probably her best performance. We haven't seen anything like that from her since. Like Connections still feel that the best is still yet to come here with TAHIYRA. She's best off a fast pace. So I think if we get a fast pace here, it'll be crucial to aim at. We will see hopefully a devastating turn of foot. Slight concern is favourites were well beaten this race, I think, the last 2 years. That would be a slight concern, but you're trying to pick, like, she on every run, she has Meditate well held when they've clashed. So I can't see why Meditate would reverse that form. The ground's going to be quick enough. I'm not convinced. I think, nice ground would suit her better. I think the ground will be quick enough here for TAHIYRA, but I think despite that, as Chris Hayes said in an article last week, she will adapt. And I think even money is a decent enough price here. Maybe not the most attractive race from a betting perspective, but I do think even money is a bit of value here for TAHIYRA, and I hope we do see something special. Just something to mention, James, off air, Prosperous Voyage, first time blinkers. You'll see Rob Hornby beside Ralph Backett's filly. I see the IHRB put out a tweet on Thursday evening that a request has been made by Connections for Frankie Dettori to ride Prosperous Voyage following an administrative error. So that's something to keep an eye on for Frankie fans. That's Prosperous Voyage, but I think TAHIYRA is the one they'll all have to beat here. I hope we see something special.
Yeah, I hope we do as well. TAHIYRA even money at the top of the market. And nice you mentioned there about Prosperous Voyage, because Frankie, I think, ridden her 3 times and already won her this season. So could be interesting at a big price for him to jump on her. Frankie, Paul's made a really strong case for TAHIYRA there. And even money could look a steal, couldn't it?
Yeah, TAHIYRA for me, she's the one they've got to beat. pretty much reiterating what Paul said, and the three of us have been big fans of her right through her career, and I think we've been in agreement every single time that she should go and win, and she's been short prices, and this is probably the most attractive. Well, I mean, even money for her to win, I think, is a very, very attractive price, and one that we didn't get at the Royal Meet thing, and I think that she should go and prove it once again. The ground is slightly quick, but given it's the end of the season, that probably gives me a little bit more confidence, because it was a bit quick for her. She could then go and have a nice break after racing on quicker ground, and I think there'll be less worry about, if it's the start of the season, do you want to race a horse that prefers a bit of juice in the ground on a quick surface and maybe kind of ruin chances further down the line? Whereas for her to have a race on quick ground, even if she comes out of it a little bit sore, she can have a nice break, and job's good. I think she should go and win this.
Yeah, I think it is roll up time, because TAHIYRA even money in this race, I can't understand it. I think this is a bet of the weekend, lads. Even money could be an absolute steal off the back of a break of 78 days. Dermot Wells in flying form now. He wasn't at the start of the season, but he is now. He's having winners all over the place. I love how they give her a rest from Royal Ascot, where I thought she was workmanlike, really, getting the job done, only just beating Remarque, but I thought she was always going to win that race coming on the outside, where the race probably didn't go how she wanted it to. Yes, Homeless Songs is a Group 1 winner, but she hasn't been the same since. Just Beautiful was nice last time, but it's not a Group 1 horse. We know where she lies with Meditate. Jumbly's not a Group 1 horse. Prosperous Voyage has won a Group 1, but I don't think we put in the Group 1 category a horse, and the rest are unproven. I think even money TAHIYRA is an absolutely massive bet. Like, I think she's by far the best. I think she's, ever since she won that Moyglare Stud Stakes last season, I thought she was a superstar. And I think you're right, Paul. I don't think we've actually seen since then her actually kick on to the potential probably where she is. She's been brilliant, but I think she can be even better. And I hope we see it on Saturday. I can't believe she's not odds again. She might be. She might get well backed. But at the moment, on Friday morning, we're looking at even money, and I'll be gobbling that right up. So TAHIYRA for all three of us. Not original, but a winner's a winner. So hopefully she goes and does the job. Right then, moving on to a different type of race at Haydock. It's just me and Paul now, with Frankie's connection having been dropping off. He's on his holidays, isn't he? We'll let him off today. But we're going to have a look at the Betfair Exchange Old Borough Cup at Haydock over 1 mile 6. And this looks quite a tricky punting affair, Paul. Who did you land on?
Yeah, despite a mile and 6, James, I'm ducking to Mark Prescott in this one. And Yukon Glen, I was a bit silly now to miss him at bigger prices when finishing placed on his last couple of starts. The one I've gone with is AZTEC Empire, who was top price at 8-1 when I was looking at this race, now best price at 9-2. I mentioned last week about a jockey that maybe wasn't getting the bounce of the ball at the moment, and I'm now with a jockey that is getting the bounce of the ball. We saw it with the likes of Neil Callan early on in the season, just when Saturdays, when you can't, every decision you make is a right one. James Doyle, touch wood, is getting a lot of luck. He's had a couple of good Saturdays. He was jocked up for Andrew Balding here on AZTEC Empire earlier on in the week. AZTEC Empire's 2 wins from 10 starts. Both wins have come on the all-weather at Kempton. This season has been running well in defeat. It was third at Newcastle in the Northumberland Plate, ran a cracker in the Northumberland Plate, and was third behind Sweet William at Newbury the time before that. Was second, just held by Forza Orta at York last time out. All those runs were over 2 miles and half a furlong. I think the drop down to 1 mile and 6 here shouldn't be a problem. He's got a beautiful pedigree, and I think he's due a win. And I'm with AZTEC Empire to get that timely success here.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I really liked AZTEC Empire at a bigger price, and I still like him, but obviously 9-2, you're not getting best value for money here. But Paul, for all the reasons you've just mentioned there, he's third in the Northumberland Plate behind Calling the Wind and Golden Rules, was brilliant off a mark of 89. Obviously, we saw how Sweet William ran in the Ebor, and he was only, third? He was a really good third, off £1 higher behind Sweet William. Last seen at York, I thought he was a very unlucky loser. Like Forza Orta just got the first run when he was trapped up the rail, and when he got out, he only went down by a neck. Yes, he drops in trip here, but there's a long straight. The line never comes at Haydock. Only £3 higher for those really successful runs. I thought AZTEC Empire would take all the beating. Don't get me wrong, Chaos Chorister was a big eye catcher in the Ebor, flying home in a really tough, muddled race that we know the Ebor can be. But she's got to give £6 to AZTEC Empire here, and I don't think she'll be able to. So, yeah, I'm in agreement with you. And James Doyle taking the ride is obvious. He's absolutely riding out his skin at the moment. And hopefully he can keep that good run going. The final event we are covering from Ascot this week then is the Lavazza Stakes, a heritage handicap over 1 mile 4 furlongs. And the betting reads as follows. We have Victory Dance at the top of the market, joint with Alsa Kib at 4-1, Gallant Line at 5s, Overactive 11-2, 9-1 for Struth, True Legend 9 and 10-1, bigger the rest. I thought, Paul, that this was a race, unless it was on ITV on the podcast, I wouldn't be looking at all because it's very, very tough. But we've got to try and find a winner. Who are you looking for?
Well, we're going to guess that Andrew Ballings won the 3 o'clock at Haydock. I think this can be a quick fire double here. Across the card double with Alsa Kib, David Probert on board. Alsa Kib has 2 victories from 4 starts. Was a good second on debut, and the yards runners generally do come on for the run. Alsa Kib second at Kempton on debut back in April, then won his next 2 at Chester and Windsor. Ran a cracker to finish 3rd of 15. Now was well beaten, was beaten a little over 7 lengths in a race won by Royal Rhyme at Goodwood back on the 3rd of August. Ran a cracker. I think the sounder surface, that was on soft ground. I do think the sounder surface here will suit. And yeah, I'm all over Alsa Kib.
Yeah, Alsa Kib joined at the top of the market. And I'm going for the other one, joined at the top of the market, Victory Dance for Charlie Appleby. There's been a lot of talk about Charlie Appleby over the last few weeks, but he's running at a 44% strike rate for the last 2 weeks. He has started to hit a little bit of form. And obviously he had a nice win in the Solario Stakes at Arblan last week. But I just thought in this race, you're looking at it and we don't know whether all these horses stay 1 mile 4, with a lot of them trying them for the first time. And just off class alone, I think Victory Dance is the best horse in the race. And we see that off his mark of 102. As a juvenile, he was a really bright performer. Finished ahead second to Isaac Shelby in the Group 2 Superlative Stakes, having won the time before. Back to winning ways in the listed Denford Stakes and Newbury over 7 furlongs. And then bumped into Nostrum and finished 3rd in the Group 3 Tattersalls Stakes. Really, really good runs. This season as a 3-year-old, he's only been seen twice. Upped in trip to 1 mile 2, running to a fair level behind Castleway, only going down by a length. Back in 4th last time out over in Deauville behind another stablemate in Bold Act. I just think being dropped into a handicap, having been running at those levels off a mark of 102, I think they thought this horse could probably be a group horse. So if he gets the trip at 1 mile 4, which I think he will, I think this is a bit of an easier assignment. And I know he's got to give weight away, but I think he's the class act in the field. So Victory Dance was a tentative selection in that one. Right, the big one. The one we've been waiting to talk about, it is the second Group 1 event of Leopardstown's card on Saturday. And it sees the 1 mile 2 furlongs Irish Champion Stakes. And what a cracker we have, Paul. Joined at the top of the market, August Rodin 11-4 with King of Steel 11-4. I can't get my head around that price of August Rodin personally, but we'll wait and see what you've got to think. Alflaila 11-2. Very interesting for Owen Burrows from being supplemented. Nashwa in there at 6s. Onesto 13-2. Luxembourg last year's winner 10-1. Al Reefer, who's creeping to a big price at 10-1. Spreewell 28s, and the outside of the field, Point Lonsdale at 100-1. Paul, 9 runners, absolute cracker. Who are you going for?
I've gone with last year's second, Onesto, for Frankie, just to edge out that little bit more improvements. Just was unlucky to bump into one too good last time out, or last year in this race. But last time out, Onesto was 4th behind in Spiral at Deauville over the mile. Frankie got first run. I thought Onesto just got caught in a pocket. Frankie gone. When push came to shove, the response wasn't immediate. I think Anton Onesto does, and I can see why the jockey kicked on last season, because early in the straight at Leopardstown, because Onesto doesn't do anything in a hurry. He's quite one pace. You know, I'd imagine if you maybe clocked his runs, his furlongs maybe in the middle of the race, there mightn't necessarily be any faster at the end of the race, but he just has that relentless gallop. French won this race first back in 1976. Their last win came in 2016, courtesy of Almanzar. And I think despite Aidan O'Brien winning this race an incredible 11 times, I'm I think this could go the way of France and Enesto. You mentioned August Rodin. His best price here, I'm seeing 7-2, James. But I think this is really the. I think if he was trained elsewhere, he'd be a bigger price. Like, this is for breeding purposes. I think this has to. Connections might be throwing everything at this. His run last time out was too bad to be true. He was beaten a long way out at Ascot in a race won by Hookham. He was a good winner at the Curragh the time before that, and then obviously his performance in the Derby was something else. King of Steel, I think the drop back to mile and 2 will suit King of Steel. Be interesting. Kevin Stott obviously looking forward to that one. Alflela I'd be pretty cautious of Alflela. I think Alflela has a right chance here. I think NASHWA will be found. I think could run a big race, but I think could be found wanting. And the one I've gone with is Ernesto for Frankie.
Yeah, it's an absolutely class race. You're right. Sorry about August Rodin, 7-2 best price. I was looking at a different firm. Look, this is an unbelievable race. I think it could be the race of the year. I can't get my head around August Rodin, and I know it's because Aidan O'Brien's won it 11 times. He's the master of bringing horses back, like he did with August Rodin from the Guineas to the Derby. But I can't have him after that last run. You can't have him. You can't possibly want to back him at 7-2 off that way he ran last time out. You can't. It's too short a price. And even if he does go and win, and you can say, yeah, look how he ran in the Derby. This is a different trip. It's a very, very strong race. I think 7-2 is blasphemous as a price. Like, I think it's dreadful. So I couldn't be having him at all. I could end up having big egg on my face, but I just can't have him at that price. I can see your cases there for Alflela. Alflela's been like brought along steady, hasn't he? He hasn't really contested at this level, but he's beat some nice horses. And even though he hasn't been given the chance, he could rise to this level. And I think a fast run race will help him. See your case for Ernesto. Luxembourg's probably not the force of old against some of these younger horses. Al Reef is interesting at 10-1 because the race against Ace Impact, I just think the ground might be slightly too quick for him. So, talking through all those, the one I landed on was King of Steel, just because the drop back to 1 mile 2, I think this is exactly what this horse has been waiting for. I think he's a very speedy type. He's ran superbly over 1 mile 4. Like, to finish on your debut run second in a Epsom Derby is unbelievable. He's an absolutely massive horse. He then went into the Group 2 King Edward's, the 7th Stakes to Royal Ascot. Really decisive win, beating Continuous. We know Continuous has come out and won a Group 2 at York since. So that was obviously a nice performance with form. And then stepping into the King George the 6th event, obviously that was a superb race. Hookham and Westover battle it out up front, but just in behind was King of Steel, who finished best of the 3-year-olds, and I thought he'll put up another really good run. I really am looking at the drop back to 1 mile 2 for this horse. I think it's superb. I think he's been set up for this race absolutely perfectly, and I think King of Steel, yes, he's at the top of the market, but I think he rightfully so. I think he'll go and do the business. I've got a different opinion to you with NASHWA though, where I think she's the each way play here. I think what she's shown throughout her career over the last 2 years or so is nothing short of superb. And yes, she's been tried highly, but her run last time, I know it was only a 4-runner event, but her run behind Mostadaf last time out, only finishing a length in the Group 1 Juddmonte International. Her win in the Group 1 Falmouth Stakes, bolting up by 5 lengths. You look back at her runs at 1 mile 2 last season in the Prix de Diane and in the Nassau Stakes. She's got some serious form at Group 1 level over this distance. And at 13-2, I'm looking at here, I think she's the each-way play, and I think she's underestimated in the market. So King of Steel for the win, but NASHWA to fill the frame with 3 places on offer with 9 runners. That was the Irish Champion Stakes looked at. What a race it is set to be. And we're moving on to another big Group 1 event on the afternoon from Haydock. It's their big Group 1 race, the Sprint Cup Stakes over 6 furlongs. And as ever, we have a huge field going to post, 18 runners, and SHAQUILLE is your 10-11 favourite here. Spycatcher, 11-1. 10-11 and 11-1, your next best. Ridiculous. Millstream, 11-1. Sacred, 12-1. Regional 14s. St. Lawrence 14s. Run to Freedom 16s. Lazoo 16s. 18-1, bigger the rest. Paul, we've been talking about SHAQUILLE all season long. He's been a model of consistency. Can he do it again?
Yeah, he can. So I think, this will be short and sweet. 10-11, the favourite, 11-1 bar. Shaquille, 7 victories from 8 starts, won the July Cup one last season, won the Commonwealth Cup the time before that. I think despite his tendency, can be a little bit tricky leaving the stalls. I think the Shaquille can cap off a good afternoon, hopefully, for James Doyle.
I think you're absolutely bang on. It's lovely to see James Doyle jump up back aboard Shaquille as well. Yeah, we've talked about this horse, haven't we? And what he did in the Commonwealth Cup took his form to a new level. His runs before that were absolutely solid. Winning the Group 1 July Cup when falling out the stalls again, but pulling his way to the front and keeping up the gallop. He's just an absolutely rapid horse. And unless he gets any trouble in running, which could happen in an 18-runner event, I think Shaquille is absolutely solid as a rock and will go and make it, 6, 7 on the trot, is it? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 on the trot it'll be. So, yeah.
I had Spycatcher as a danger, but I think unless the rain arrives, I can't see Spycatcher. He's drifted, was around about 7 or 8 to 1 when I was looking at this race, but now best price 11 to 1. I think it's Shaquille's. As you mentioned, I think biggest danger will be trouble in running.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think one just to mention the horse I do like, and I put him up for the Nunthorpe as well, from an each way play, is Regional. Going up to 6 furlongs, he's a course and distance winner. The way he stayed on the Nunthorpe was really, really eye-catching. Just finished over just about 2.5 lengths behind the shot winner, Live in the Dream. There'll be extra place on offer for sure with 18 runners. So I think Regional, having already won over this course and distance, stepping up from 5 furlongs at 14 to 1 could be the each way play, but all aboard the Shaquille train. Paul, we've covered a mountain of races there from Leopardstown, Kempton, Haydock and Ascot on Saturday from on ITV Racing. All we need now is your nap, please. Obviously, Frankie's dropped off with his connection. He covered the first few races and he's had some strong opinions in there. But Paul, who are you going for your nap?
My nap is AZTEC in the 3:10 at Ascot on Saturday afternoon. I think AZTEC will take the beating for Andrew Balling and David Probert. One, I think, to note, just want to mention a few quickly, James. There's a horse running on Friday evening, 4:25 at Dunroyal, a horse called Maggie McGrath for trainer Kieran Cotter, jockey Declan McDonough. It's not the strongest of races, but it's competitive nonetheless. Maggie McGrath has a nice draw in stall number 4. Inside draw is crucial around Dunroyal. It's quite a sharp right-handed track. So drawn close to that inside running rail. Didn't beat the rival home at Cork last time out, but has some decent form on the all-weather. Finished second at Dundalk back in December. I think a reproduction of that run would see Maggie McGrath go close in that 4:25. Currently best priced at 13 to 2. And just to mention, the trainer-jockey combination do pretty well when teaming up together. And there is one on Sunday. Johnny Murta mentioned Take Heart is his best chance of a winner at the Irish Champions Festival. So Take Heart, a good winner when last seen. Hopefully can follow up in that 5:45 at the Curragh on Sunday.
Lovely stuff. Nice to hear some tips for racing in Ireland, because our followers absolutely love that. My nap this weekend is one I think we're all very fond of, and it is Light Infantry for David Simcock and Jamie Spencer in the 150 at Haydock. Running superbly in Group 1s all season, drops into a Group 3 against opposition that I know this horse can beat. I think it's a perfect race to get him back to winning ways. So hopefully Light Infantry can get the job done. Paul, thank you as ever. Thank you to Frankie as well. Please be sure to like this video, comment your selections or naps across the weekend. There's plenty of racing on, so we want to see what you're going for this weekend. Get it in the comments below. And make sure to subscribe to the Winners Enclosure channel so you get notified when our shows go live. All the best wherever you are back in Ireland, in the UK. Absolutely superb racing on, and thanks for watching.